Once again, you're open for questions. So if you have any questions, we have roving mics ready for you. Yeah, it doesn't help that all of you are wearing glasses and look rather similar. Over to you, Dr. Jun, to take charge of the three gentlemen.
Hi, my name is Jun-E. I'm from Khazanah Research Institute. I'm very happy to be the moderator for this panel today. So basically how we'll run it is that I'll first introduce the problem a little bit, and then we'll have questions going around. And if there is time, we'll have a Q&A. If no time, then I guess we'll skip it. So ASEAN is quickly becoming a major center for AI innovation and adoption. This rapid expansion, however, brings forth some concerns about risks and concerns about safe and responsible use of AI. And globally speaking, most of the conversations on AI safety focus on risks like chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear, CBRN threats, or AGI, artificial general intelligence, or even ASI, artificial superintelligence, and what future harms AI might bring. But this might not fully align with ASEAN's diverse AI maturity levels and specific needs. So this session, we will explore how ASEAN can ensure its interests, unique challenges, and even opportunities that it can bring can be effectively represented in the global conversation on AI safety. So we'll examine how current and upcoming ASEAN initiatives, such as the ASEAN Guide on AI Governance and Ethics, and also the ASEAN Responsible AI Roadmap and the proposed ASEAN AI Safety Network are going to support the region's AI journey. So our panel discussion will delve into the AI landscape in Southeast Asia, covering the state of AI policy development among the ASEAN countries and the key AI safety challenges and opportunities that we see, and also existing and future regional initiatives. So we will try to foster this conversation on how we can collaborate and to harness this power of AI and mitigate risks so that we can have the secure digital future for the region. So the flow of the questions will basically move from current initiatives and then going into deeper dive on priorities and future outlooks. So firstly, for Hazremi, from the ASEAN Secretariat. So as ASEAN continues to grow in importance, how do you envision the role of ASEAN Secretariat evolving? And what are the examples of some of the forthcoming or existing initiatives that will advance our region's AI safety discourse?
Thank you, Dr. Jun. Good morning, everyone. So just to introduce, I'm Remy. I'm from the ASEAN Secretariat. We are based in Jakarta. So for those who don't know, where is the ASEAN Secretariat? It is based in Jakarta. So we work closely with Malaysia this year to organize the first ever ASEAN AI Summit. So we thank Malaysia for your bold leadership this year. All right. And just to come back to your questions. Right. At the ASEAN Secretariat, our role has actually evolved from being primarily facilitating. We are now have evolved more towards shaping, operationalizing, and coordinating on the ASEAN AI governance framework designs. So within these few years, we have seen a tremendous shift, right, for ASEAN. Sitting at the top of this grand design is the ASEAN Digital Economic Framework Agreements, or DIFA, which is currently being negotiated right now, which is the first digital economy region, which is the first regional digital economy agreement in the world. And this will help ASEAN to unlock $2 trillion economic value by 2030. So this is a very ambitious move by ASEAN. This is the first legally binding agreement in ASEAN when it comes to digital economy agreement. So for your information, ASEAN, we have a lot of initiatives all these years, but most of them are voluntary basis. And this ASEAN DIFA will be the first to tie binding commitment, which will tie up all the loose ends within ASEAN from voluntary becomes a legally binding commitment. And last year, we published the ASEAN Guide on AI Governance and Ethics. So this is the first regional AI governance and ethics in the world. So within this ASEAN Guide on AI Governance and Ethics, we have embedded 7 key principles. Just to name a few, just for example, like transparent, fairness, data governance, and also human centricity. So these 7 key principles are being embedded in the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement negotiations. Our approach when it comes to AI governance is focusing on the pro-innovations and balanced approach, where we balance between the economic benefits of AI and also its risks, right? So when we developed the ASEAN AI Guide, we have conducted global scanning throughout the world. Right? We look into the US approach, China approach, the EU approach. I'm sure you all have heard of the EU AI Act, the most stringent, right? The risk-based. And we, after we conducted the global scanning, we actually agreed that these 7 key principles will be the guiding for ASEAN when it comes to governing its AI to focus to be a responsible and safe use of AI. And why we focus on balancing innovation versus its risk? Because ASEAN is a growing region. We need to encourage and attract more FDI in the regions, right? So ASEAN wants to benefit from whatever happens in the global geo-economic trade war, wherever, right? Between all the superpowers, we want to be the third bloc to benefit. So this is where ASEAN stands, right? And our key principles is this ASEAN centrality and also neutrality. Means any partner that want to work with ASEAN has to respect the ASEAN needs, which is the centrality. And second, neutrality means that ASEAN remains neutral. We do not side with any others, right? But we want to work with everyone, right? And earlier this year, we have published the ASEAN Responsible AI Roadmap. And this Responsible AI Roadmaps actually outline step-by-step and actionable guide for member states to implement responsible and safe use of AI. Why we need this AI roadmap? Because every member state have different level of readiness, right? You don't, example, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, they are at a different trajectory, right, compared to the other country, emerging economies. So this responsible AI roadmap actually helps each member state to assess themselves where they are and where they are going, right? So I encourage that Malaysia, because Malaysia is also part of the ASEAN member countries, to also look into this AI roadmap when designing your national AI strategy, right? And this year, we are working closely with Malaysia, especially with MyDIGITAL, Mr. Calvin, into establishing an ASEAN AI safety network. So this is a priority economic deliverable project for ASEAN this year, which means it becomes my KPI, right? It becomes my KPI. If Malaysia succeed to establish an ASEAN AI safety network, means I also achieve my KPI.
We get your bonus.
I get bonus and salary increment next year. And I'm sure that I will also help them, right? Mr. Malaysia, MyDIGITAL, all right? And so this AI safety network is the first regional AI safety network in the world. So this is a bold leadership move by Malaysia to look into institutionalizing AI readiness and AI safety and within the ASEAN region. So we look forward to the completion of this project by end of at the upcoming ASEAN Summit in October this year, and hopefully we will establish the network by early 2026. And yeah, I will stop there, and I'll talk too long. I'll talk about another questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Hazremi. for providing all the initiatives and also the context behind it and the principles that will guide it. That was a very comprehensive answer. So moving on to Kelvin. Following from what Hazremi has said on the ASEAN initiatives, I have two-part question for you.
Yep.
So the first is, how is Malaysia aligning its national AI strategy
Yes.
with the broader ASEAN initiatives? And the second part of this question is, can you share more about Malaysia's ASEAN chairmanship initiatives?
Sure. I think the second part, Remy sort of gave way already and gave a hint of it. But that's a very good question. And thanks so much for the organizer for having me here as well. And in Malaysia, we have launched the National AI Action Plan back in 2021 to 2025. And now under the auspices of the National AI Office, that's the development of the National AI Action Plan 2030. And for Malaysia, the aspiration is to be a regionally competitive and also globally competitive AI hub, and to have the right policy and also infrastructure in place. And I think the establishment of the National AI Office was enough signal and enough commitment from the Malaysian government in overseeing the implementation of the different national AI initiatives, from the policy development to the ecosystem development to the innovation development as well. And I think that's where Malaysia has all the building blocks in place. For example, we have the influx of data centers in Malaysia that sets a really good base of the AI infrastructure in Malaysia. And we recognize the economic impact of AI that could bring to Malaysia. And a study actually suggested that, if Malaysia that AI could have the potential of bringing in up to $115 billion worth of GDP to Malaysia by 2030, and also over $1 trillion in the region as well. These projections of values are really great, but then how do we then capture those value? And it all comes down to the implementation of the action plan, and also aligning ourselves to the regional initiatives. So nationally speaking, we have the National AI Action Plan in place. RMK 1330 Malaysia Plan also outlined a very bold ambition of building Malaysia as an AI nation as well. And at MyDIGITAL Corporation, we are charged to oversee the implementation of the Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint and also the National Fourth Industrial Revolution Policy. And right now we have the National AI Office being incubated under MyDIGITAL Corporation as well, overseeing all of these initiatives. And this is where the guiding documents that you have just mentioned, the ASEAN Responsible AI Roadmap, the ASEAN Guide for AI Governance and Ethics, are really good regional framework for each of the ASEAN member states to have a reference point to. And then Malaysia, we actually reference to these regional documents and translate it into our national agendas as well. And this is where we want to harmonize the practices and also regulation that we have with the region and also with our neighbors in the region, and also globally, to ensure that there's interoperability within the region, and to position not only Malaysia but also ASEAN as a very competitive hub for AI. And specifically to that's how Malaysia aligns ourselves to the regional initiative. The second part, which is to build on to the regional documents that we have, the ASEAN Responsible AI Roadmap, the ASEAN Guide for AI Governance and Ethics. How do we then translate into tangible action for the ASEAN member states? And this is where Malaysia, with our chairmanship year this year, we are championing the development of the ASEAN AI Safety Network. And the ASEAN AI Safety Network will be one of the world's first regionally endorsed AI safety network. And it is meant to be an inclusive platform where we recognize that there are varying and also different level of AI adoption in the region. And we also recognize that each countries are at very different journey and different parts of the journey in AI adoption. And this is where we want to create a central platform to institutionalize the points and also the principles that comes out from the ASEAN Responsible AI Roadmap, and also to build on the ASEAN Guide for AI Governance and Ethics. Because a document will stay a document without implementation. And this is where we want to create a platform where the member states are able to capacity build their institution, and also to prepare their respective institutions to be able to translate the principles outlined and enshrined in these documents into their national ecosystem. So the ASEAN AI Safety Network, right now we are conducting the feasibility study, and we are towards the tail end of the feasibility study as well. And we actually just had the workshop last week. And many of them expressed a few things. That the development of AI ecosystem cannot be worked in isolation. It requires international collaboration. It requires good governance structure in order for us to be able to foster that regional collaboration. And this is where Malaysia, in our chairmanship year this year, one of the projects that we are championing, and also no pressure at all to help Remy get his bonus and his salary increment next year as well. So hopefully that answers the question. Right?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kelvin. Very glad to hear the strategies on not only the national level, but also how it connects to the regional level. So what I'm hearing is this parts of how do you say, strategizing and collaboration, and also interoperability being like keywords that we really have to take when we want to work as a region. So over on to Sovan. So congratulations for Cambodia completing the UNESCO AI Readiness Assessment report. So I was wondering if you could actually share with us what are some of the key findings from the report. What do you find interesting?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, welcome to the panel discussions, and thank you for having me here today. Just for those who are not very familiar with the UNESCO Readiness Assessments, it's basically a methodology that UNESCO publish out for countries to access their AI readiness in a multi-dimensional way. And inside there are 5 different dimensions. It's on the legals, on the infrastructures, on the socio-economics, and so on. So this will allow countries to know where they stand before they start their national AI strategy journeys. And Cambodia just finished it and published this readiness assessment early July last month. And some of the interesting facts that we can draw from this report, I think it's somehow evidence as well. Cambodia is not, it's really at the very early stage of AI adoptions. So that is somehow expected, but then we also found out a few more interesting facts. For example, on the legal side, there are a lot of things that has been done already, but fragmented. For example, when you talk about AI, you talk about safety, you talk about trust, you talk about how to deploy it in a secure ways, right? And to build trust, you need a personal data protections law. You need something that people can trust your models. You need a sandbox, you need a lot of governance models. All this kind of thing has been put in place by the Digital Government Committees of Cambodia, by the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication, but it's fragmented. It's not working as an ecosystem. So that is one interesting fact. And right now we are finalizing the national AI strategy, and hopefully the Ministry of Post will take more leading roles on that way, on that ones. On the talents and the infrastructures, we admit that there are a lot of, we are lag behind in terms of infrastructures, in terms of talents. Even the curriculum at the university, there are a lot of things that we need to foster, to develop more. But otherwise, this is just what we found out. So what we are building next is starting from this, right? So based on the found out in the readiness assessments, we know that we cannot aim for something like other countries to be a leader in AI. That is not just impossible to achieve. So what we try to position ourselves in the next 5 years would be become a smart adopter, intelligence adopters. That means whatever that has been built by other countries, open source, either by other business, utilize it to the full potentials, and hopefully it will drive the economy. It will be a new catalyst for the growth of the economy, more automations, more productivity, more efficiencies, but at the same time, we try to balance between the risk and the safety. So in the national AI strategy that we are drafting, there are 6 pillars that we will be targeting. One of them will be the infrastructures, and the data. Without the data, nothing works, right? So in the next few years, we'll try to create more data repository, cleanse it, process it, and probably with a better governance law, like data governance, open data policies, kind of things. So that is one thing. Second is on the infrastructures. We need more robust infrastructures that allow us to deploy AIs, models at scale. We need also legal standpoints that allow people to build trust and to utilize it in a safe way. But we are not going to develop AI law just like in the EU. That is not our approach. It's a balance between the innovations and the safety for the peoples. And our approach is a very light touch one, meaning that we let the innovations grow and we just monitor where we should attack. And if we should attack, we are not going to fully attack it, just step by step on the previous steps on it. Otherwise, sandbox, a regulatory sandbox will be one of the priorities to allow people to start testing, deploying their models and see if the risk is really evidence or not, and if not, just let it go. On the talents, we are laying out the digital skill roadmap for 10 years that will aim to produce 100,000 skilled workforce in digital sectors, and a lot of them will be in the digital sectors as well. And another one is, I think a lot of people talk about being digitally connected, digitally inclusive. Right now, if you go to Cambodia, the internet penetrations is very good, 90+% across the countries. 95% population coverage for the 4G internet coverage. That means we are digitally connected or not? I think to some extent we can say that, but did we take the full benefit of these digitally connected things? I would say no. Take an example of ChatGPT. How many Cambodian people can use ChatGPT? It's not because they are not digitally literate. Some of them are, but the problem is ChatGPT does not offer in Khmer. They are building up. So that means a lot of things that people can benefit abroad, people in Cambodia cannot just use it. And even if they use it, the norm, the standard, the value, the traditions, the history, that the data they collected from the Western world that was used to train the ChatGPT does not correspond to what we are looking for. And that is another thing. I'm not talking about the digital sovereignty. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the practical things on the ground for the citizens. So that is one of the priorities also for us to tackle this year. And it's my team to tackle it, and we are collecting a large data set to train the models. Not to train, but to fine-tune it based on, for example, sea lions from Singapore or other LLM that support Khmer, like DeepSeek and etc. I finished by this, and I'll add later. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. I really like the point about smart adoption. So basically finding what is the best way to, you might not want to focus on development, but actually adoption, and that actually is a valid strategy as well. And thank you for also giving us some of the challenges that you guys face, because it leads us quite well into the next part of the questions, which is on priorities and challenges. So back to Remy. So looking ahead, what are the ASEAN Secretariat's strategic priorities to foster regional resilience on AI safety, AI-related risks? So, and how will these efforts actually integrate with the existing initiatives that we have?
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Jun. In the long term, we actually want to push more ASEAN member states in the AI Readiness Index. I mean, we want to push up their rankings, right? So, but however, in order to move up the ASEAN member state in the AI Readiness Index, we need measures, for example, in the infrastructure readiness, R&D, talent development, and AI safety is one of the strategy we are looking at to improve the ASEAN rankings in the AI Readiness Index. However, it won't only be the only move, right? It's part of the grand design, I would say. And that's why our priorities, looking ahead, we actually emphasize on the industry readiness, right? And it has to be supported by government as an enabler. This is where we are looking at. Because how we see this, because the main beneficiaries of what we are discussing today is the industry, right? So they can move things faster, they can innovate faster, right? And government should act as an enabler, right? And facilitating, right? And giving them the best environment to flourish, I would say. So what we're looking at ahead when it comes to within the AI safety and as well on the responsible AI deployment, we are looking at embedding AI safety into sectoral value chains, right? For example, you look into sectors such as agriculture, education, transport, right, and manufacturing, and this industry that I mentioned just now deals a lot with cross-border activities, right? Cross-border digital trade, and also cloud computing, and also AI-powered supply chain. And I think Kelvin also mentioned about that Malaysia is right now is leading the numbers of data center development in the regions. So we are looking into applying and implementing this safety and responsible ethical guardrails within these sectors we mentioned just now. Second, we look into to have more industry-driven capacity building, and because we see the value of working with the industries, with the tech companies, right? Last week we had a workshop for the ASEAN AI Safety Network, which was attended by various tech companies, and all of them has expressed keen interest to support this initiative led by Malaysia, and when it comes to AI safeties and to provide more capacity building. So I think this is the strategy that we are looking at. So we want to work with the industry, right? And third, we want to emphasize more on the public-private AI risk coordinations, right? Because establishing AI risk preventions will help to improve our capacity, readiness. Example like mentioned by Mr. Sovan just now on the regulatory sandbox. I think giving industry a controlled environment to test their AI solutions. I think this is what we need to instill, right? Not only this regulatory sandbox is not only within Malaysia only, but it has to be within ASEAN. So we are looking at this further digital economy integrations. So this initiative is one of the grand design that we're looking at because we see within the private sector is where the AI value chain happens, right? And yeah, we work closely with the government to create an environment that a very friendly, business friendly environment. And finally, within the ASEAN DIFA, we're also looking at promoting innovations, compliance, and because examples such as the procurement standards, right, trade agreements, within the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement that we are negotiating right now, we are embedding innovation part and to make sure that this is a living document. It will help because ASEAN DIFA, the main beneficiary is the industry, right? Governments is negotiating to ensure that in ASEAN digital economy can reach up to 2 trillion by 2030. So we noticed that the industry move faster, right? I think for the past 2-3 years, when the generative AI was booming in 22, I think we are now moving ahead. This year we are talking about AI safety, and then who knows what is going to happen in next 2-3 years. And even right now we are already talking about agentic AI, how it actually can be another disruptor, right? I hope we are not being replaced, right? I hope agentic AI will assist us to support us rather than replace us, right? And so finally, yeah, we are as a secretariat, we emphasize on the synergy between the governments and also the industry, right? Where the government help to create public safety frameworks, the legally binding frameworks, so that the industry can flourish. So this is where we are heading for the next 5 years, I believe. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. I'm hearing very practical steps forward, focusing on metrics, focusing on industry. The sectoral approach I quite like because it's practical. And so moving on to Kelvin. So from Malaysia's perspective, what is the most pressing AI safety challenges and opportunities in the national context?
Thank you so much for that question. So I think in the national context, I think through the National AI Office, the National AI Office established 7 different working groups. I so happen to chair the working group for AI safety, which you are a member of and a party of. And in that discussion, we explore a few questions, a few key questions. I think one is understanding what does AI safety really mean for Malaysia? And secondly, looking into where are we at in the AI safety landscape? And finally, looking into where do we want to go and where is Malaysia heading in that direction? And we recognize, again, the economic impact and the positive economic impact of AI adoption to the nation. However, there are also other impact, for example, the social impact of AI adoption and also the other aspects in AI adoption as well. For example, the emerging risk of AI adoption that we have just mentioned. For Malaysia specifically, the priority is very similar to the Cambodian approach, is to identify what are some of the existing regulatory frameworks in Malaysia. Is it sufficient to address the risk that emerges from AI? And what are some of the risks that we are even thinking about? You rightly pointed out that a lot of the conversation on AI safety, particularly in Europe and also in America, focuses a lot on the CBRN risk, chemical, biological, nuclear, and also radiological risk. However, on the other side of the world, in this part of the world, many of the risks and also concerns that are much discussed about very much lies along the line of, for example, in AI-generated deepfakes, AI-generated scams, and also AI-generated malicious content as well. And that begs the question of, how do we then assign liability? Who is liable to this risk? So the working group discussed very extensively on this, and of course, I wouldn't be able to share the full detail of the discussion, but some of the top priorities in Malaysia, and also not only in Malaysia, but in the region, are along these lines as well, that deepfakes, the proliferation of deepfakes, AI-generated scams, and also AI-generated malicious content are the more immediate safety risks that poses more threats to Malaysia and also to the Southeast Asia nations. However, Malaysia is considering taking on a very practical and pragmatic approach in, one, addressing the immediate threats and risks that AI presents. However, also future-proofing Malaysia for the CBRN risk that is to come as AI proliferates, and AI adoption increases and proliferates across different layers of society. And some of the opportunities for Malaysia is then it opens up conversation on regulatory reform. I think thinking about along the line of how do we enhance security and also data governance and cross-border data governance within the region for us to be able to enhance, build trust among public for AI adoption. Secondly, looking into investing into AI safety research and also education as well. Because a lot of the focus on AI safety has been around the technical aspect. For example, there's red teaming methodologies in place. There are a lot of other technical testings that you can do. The second aspect of it is the operationalization of it, the human aspect of it. And that requires education, and that requires clear governance structure for example, in product development at the organization level. Do you have say for example, an AI governance committee who is overseeing the development of particular AI products for a particular country? So it is something that is still work in progress, and there are a lot of opportunities and much more conversation is needed. But the priorities are that that one looking to addressing the immediate risks, but then also future-proofing Malaysia for the emerging risks that will come in AI adoption.
Great, thank you very much. So rooted in immediate risks and looking at risks and liability issues from the regulatory framework point of view, but also not forgetting that we do have to future-proof and open up conversation on CBRN risks and things like that so that we can move on to a safer digital future in that sense, right?
Yep.
So, Sovan, following from Malaysia's perspective, what is Cambodia's perspective on AI safety? And also, I'd like you to focus on concerns that are not adequately addressed in global discussions. What are our ASEAN concerns and priorities that other regions don't seem to talk about so much?
Thank you. Thank you for these questions. I think I agree with Malaysia's that the AI safety is really hard to define for now. And I still remember when we do the consultations on the ASEAN Guide on AI governance and ethics, the draft versions selected 15 risks at the beginnings, but then at the end it was not there. It's because at some points we feel that the risk and the safety is hard to define. As AI is evolving, the safety concern become more and more difficult to identify. And if you read the AI report by the high-level advisory board of the UN, you will also likely to see one sentence that if someone trying to find the risk of AIs is like a fully ignorance way, we just simply cannot find it. But somehow, until now, there are two different things we can see. One are the risk, the safety that we have identified, and the other side is we have to look ahead and build our foundation so that we can be resilient and flexible. So on the left side, just like I mentioned earlier, we try to look at our regulatory landscape. What are the missing pieces? We connect the dot together, build it so that AI ecosystem can flourish, but at the same time, it allows us to jump in if necessary. On the right-hand side, we continue to monitor it. Anytime it happens, we can jump in. But we won't take a very brutal way. It will be a very light touch. I emphasize it again. It's because we still like to see the innovations come first approach in Cambodia. Continuing from this, I think there are a few priorities in Cambodia that we are trying to tackle at least for this year and probably in the next coming years as well. One of them is, to us, the safety or the risk really depends on the context. It depends on the societies. Something that is not safe in this society might not be safe in other societies, right? And in that sense, and if we come back to why generative AI is so popular today, it's because it uses our language. And language is a means to transfer your history or your value, your society norm, your standard, your belief, right? So in that way, when you use AIs that does not come from the society where you belong, basically you will likely to have more risk. So that one, I refer back to the project that we will tackle this year is the local large language model that allows us to express ourselves in our local language. So that is one thing. The second thing are something that is happening in Cambodia and probably might not be other, but in Southeast Asian country like in Vietnam, I think it's also applicable, is there is a high level trust in the social media, which is hard to find in Europe. In Europe, you don't normally trust social media. In Cambodia, we trust it quite often. So the problem of these informations become amplified. In Europe, you also have this, but it's less than us. And the way that it can generate content massively, the problem becomes even more problematic. So that is something that is very local. There is practicals on the grounds that we need to tackle. I think we don't have much time. I'll give back to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And this was a really good conversation, I think. Brings a very, very, concrete examples of what the risks are, what the ways to mitigate them are, and what are the strategies, and also how to work together at the regional level to make sure that we have good AI, better AI for all. So we have reached the end of our session. So thank you very much for being here and being with us. Thank you.